This is Southern Cross News with Joe Palmer.
Good evening, everyone. A simple father and son bonding trip has become a miraculous tale of survival. John and Stephen Ward, who were finally found today after surviving 3 days in the freezing Tasmanian wilderness. Dad John has mild hypothermia and son Stephen is in good spirits. Louise Hedger joins us now with more on this story.
It's being described as a miracle, Joe. The father and son have been missing for 3 days in the isolated Tasmanian wilderness in the southwest. Today they were found by ground search crews. Dad John has mild hypothermia and son Stephen is in good spirits. They've been airlifted to hospital in Hobart. It's been an arduous 3 days for the rescue crews and the pair's loved ones. Temperatures over the last few nights have been below zero, and although crews weren't giving up hope, there were grave concerns that they just couldn't survive in the deteriorating conditions.
Really happy. I thought we were on the way out, to be honest. I really did.
They did a really good job. They're real heroes.
It was planned as a bonding trip for the 42-year-old dad and 13-year-old son, but it all went horribly wrong. They departed on what was meant to be a day walk on Monday, but got lost. Although it was their first bushwalk, the pair instinctively built a shelter from shrubs and tea tree to keep them protected from the harsh elements.
They still did become wet and damp in that shelter, but that's most likely saved their life. They've had the smarts to build something like that. And
they survived on food left by other bushwalkers in the area and filtered water from a lake. Today they sought higher ground on a button grass plain, a decision that saved their lives.
And Stephen, the young guy, he got a space blanket and tied it to a star picket, one of the track markers out there, so that they could be seen. And he's done a very good job. Michael
and Louise were the ground crew who made the first point of contact with the survivors 20 kilometres from their campsite. They were dropped to a remote area where they came across the father and son, and they say they're overjoyed with the results.
As a result of walking across there, they've heard them off the track, located them and coordinated the response to the helicopter to get them out.
I just said he was happy to see us as we are to see you, and he said yes in a pretty good way. But they were just, they were obviously very happy that someone was with them and that help was going to be coming pretty soon.
Police are using the lucky escape to remind other adventurers of the dangers that the rugged Tasmanian wilderness can present and are urging others to be prepared. Joe.
Police are treating a fire that gutted an Invermay unit overnight as suspicious. The blaze caused an estimated $180,000 damage, and detectives say they are following a specific lead.
Flames bursting out from inside this Invermay unit. The New Street blaze so intense when fire crews arrived, they couldn't get too close.
Firefighters wearing breathing apparatus were doing an outside attack on the fire as it was too dangerous for firefighters to enter.
The fire started just after 7 o'clock. A woman lives in the unit, but it's believed she wasn't home when the fire broke out.
The person that was present at the premises was actually outside.
There was a bloke out the front screaming out, Emily, I think her name is, the girl that lives there. And there was a half dozen bangs and the police had turned up.
Neighbours believe the bangs could have been caused by spray cans exploding.
I know she has a lot of painting there, so she's an artist.
When fire crews arrived, smoke was also billowing from the neighbouring unit, but luckily its firewall saved it from also going up in flames. Fire investigators returned to the scene this morning. The exact cause is yet to be determined and charges are yet to be laid. Meanwhile, a home at Acton Park in the state's south was also partly destroyed by fire this morning. Crews called to the Tara Drive property just before 11 o'clock. Half the house was well alight and neighbours were using hoses to try and extinguish it.
Just after the crews entered the house, the roof collapsed in the front half of the house and they were able to extinguish the rest of the house.
No one was home at the time. The cause has been identified as an electrical fault in the fridge. Damage is estimated at $400,000 and firefighters believe the home may need to be demolished. Monika Dadson at Southern Cross News.
A Hobart woman remains at the Melbourne Alfred Hospital receiving specialist treatment for burns to more than 50% of her body following an incident at a Chigwell house on Monday. 20-year-old Nicole Evans is in a critical condition in an induced coma. She's undergone further surgery today and is expected to require medical treatment for several months. Her partner has been accused of causing grievous bodily harm and has been remanded in custody to appear in the Supreme Court. An interim family violence order and restraint order have also been lodged with the court. Reporter Jackie Christie is at the Alfred Hospital now. Good evening, Jackie. How is Nicole this evening?
Well, Joe, this poor young victim remains in a serious but stable condition here at the Alfred Hospital tonight. And we've been told that her burns are horrific and she's mainly sustained that injury to her face and down the front of her body. Now, investigators are still trying to ascertain what type of accelerant was thrown at her, they allege, by her fiancé. We're also told that Nicole is a strong girl, so her loved ones can only pray and hope that she is strong enough to pull through this, Joe.
Yeah, we certainly all are. Thank you very much for that, Jackie. The State Labor Party says it will go to the next year's election with a plan to increase our renewable energy output. Rebecca White says the policy will aim to bump it up by at least 500 megawatts.
Unfortunately, we've got a Liberal government that has not delivered a single renewable energy project for the entire 3 years they've been in government.
But the Hodgman government says it is committed to growing our renewables and only last week announced it's looking at increasing Hydro Tasmania's output by 2,500 megawatts. The possibility of renting an affordable home is slipping further out of reach for many Tasmanians, according to a new report. There's now calls for both state and federal governments to provide homeowners with incentives to allow more low-income tenants into their properties.
Like many Tasmanians, this Hobart mum is forced to live fortnight to fortnight due to the increasing pressure of rental stress.
It means that you have to basically plan for everything. Coming for a trip into town, that has to be planned. Or petrol costs, they have to be planned out for the fortnight. It doesn't mean that you can just take a random trip and just go and buy takeaway. You pack your lunch.
And a new report reveals the harsh reality of renting is getting worse. Across Tasmania, on the first weekend of this month, there were 49% fewer private rental properties on offer compared to 5 years ago. The state's south taking the biggest hit, while the north's drop matched the state average. The report also found for single parents with children older than 8 and whose main income is New Start, only 2% of properties on the market are appropriate.
We see people who are spending more than 50% of their income on their rent or their housing costs, and that leaves very little for all the other essential things.
Anglicare now calling for an action plan.
We need to be able to ensure that we've got a supply of affordable housing coming through the pipeline. That's something that we need to tackle from a federal level around taxation and also from a state level. We need to be incentivising private development to include affordable housing.
The organisation also calling for more long-term tenure options.
There are obviously pressures on our housing stock and we'll address these as a government, including in the upcoming budget.
It's one of the basic things that a government needs to ensure people have, and that's a roof over their head.
Monika Dadson at Southern Cross News.
Staff and patients at Launceston's John Earl Grove Rehabilitation Centre are breathing a little easier tonight, with the state government today committing to $20 million in funding for the facility. It's the first pre-budget announcement from the government.
Wayne Ackley is one of the success stories for the centre. He suffered a stroke late last year and now 128 days later, his condition has remarkably improved.
I didn't really think he'd be able to actually walk again, so this facility does give them the time, and we have the resources with our allied health staff which are vital in people reaching their goals, and here's a classic example. We have a lot of those good stories.
The government today announced $5 million will be committed each year for the next 4 years to keep the centre open.
This is a long-term funding model. We're actually permanently funding this service, and it will be structurally embedded into the forward estimates and beyond. This service has got a guaranteed lifeline, and our staff and patients can be assured of that.
But the centre's future wasn't always secure. In April 2015, families and staff rallied together, asking the state and federal governments for funding. A month later, nurses took industrial action with funding set to dry up completely by June 30.
Yes, it's nice to be able to have that certainty, and of course recruitment of staff is difficult in those situations, and all our staff are very passionate about what they do. I'm very happy with the result today.
This facility has been the victim of uncertainty for too long. We're changing that today with this important announcement, and that's good news for people in this community.
The centre is the only one of its kind in the north and offers 20 slow-to-recover beds. It helps clients return to normal life, with the average patient staying around a month. Labor welcoming the news and commitment to keeping the service afloat.
It's the government's responsibility to make sure that they can provide the basics in delivering health services.
The government remains tight-lipped on other possible health commitments in the upcoming budget in now just a short 28 days' time. Jessica Moran, Southern Cross News.
The Tasmanian Tigers officially have a new coach. Southern Cross sports reporter Chris Rowbottom joins us now. Good evening, Chris. Cricket Tasmania welcoming a former local home.
It certainly has, Joe, revealing today it signed former Tigers fast bowler Adam Griffith to a 3-year deal, replacing Dan Marsh as head coach. Now, Griffith has spent the past 6 years in Western Australia honing his coaching skills. He worked under Justin Langer developing fast bowlers, many of who have gone on to represent Australia. From there, he's been involved in the national setup as fast bowling coach for recent tours of Sri Lanka and the Caribbean. He's also been an assistant coach for the national under-19 side. His appointment comes in the wake, of course, of Tigers assistant Damien Wright and GM of cricket Andrew Dykes being sacked. It was a unanimous recommendation by the selection panel. Griffith will relocate from WA in the coming weeks, where we are sure he'll hit the ground running and lead a new era of Tasmanian cricket. But we will hear from him a little sooner than that. He will join CT CEO Nick Cummins at a press conference tomorrow morning. Joe.
OK, we'll look forward to that. Thanks so much for that, Chris. $100,000 has been announced to see the rollout of additional CCTV throughout the Launceston CBD. The money is part of the Safer Communities Fund and aims to assist in combating crime and antisocial behaviour. The rollout will see 25 existing cameras replaced and 15 new systems installed. Tasmania Police says the CCTV network will increase officers' ability to detect and respond to crime. Now let's take a look at the day's business and finance news with thanks to Tasplan, your local super fund. The share market has closed modestly higher, its 5th straight gain, with the financial sector leading the way. The ASX 200 index up 9.5 points. And a short time ago, the Australian dollar was trading at 74.8 US cents and 68.6 euro cents.
Two teams are still searching for their first TSL wins of the year. Lauderdale and Devonport's seasons are on the line this weekend, while Glenorchy will take no risks when it travels to Burnie on Saturday.
Glenorchy have a 3-day break before a trip to West Park. Then it's games against Clarence and North Launceston. Aaron Cornelius resisting the urge to rest some of his stars.
We didn't play many practice games over the pre-season, so the more football they play together, the better.
Hobart City Demons have a chance to put a huge dent in Lauderdale's season. Kane Richter knows what to expect at the ground known as the Tip.
They like to have a crack at you. They like to, put the bumper bars up and get stuck in near behind the footy. So we're pretty keen to match them in the contested area.
A loss would see the Bombers slump to a 0-4 start with 3 home defeats.
We've had a few chats earlier in the week and changed a few things up that we don't think's working, and obviously it'll be nice to get a win this week.
Clarence and Launceston will play in the match of the round at Windsor Park. Blues Sam Lonergan is finding his rhythm at TSL level, and Jeremy Webberley knows it.
I thought his second half against Lauderdale last week was pretty good, especially when the game was on the line. He was, first class.
While at Devonport Oval, North Launceston can all but crush the Magpies' finals hopes on Saturday night under lights, but admit they're coming up against an unknown quantity.
We do know about their senior players from last year, with the Sharmans and the Rileys and the Thorpes.
but probably the knowledge of their inexperienced players would be a difficult thing to grasp.
Whatever happens, Mitch Thorpe fully intends to stay the course with a side that contains 10 players under 17.
We're a fair way off thinking about finals, to be fair, and that's not a bad thing. That's just where we're at, and we want to rebuild into a very strong, sustainable football club.
Competitors in this year's Targa Tasmania are tonight resting in Strawn as they prepare for tomorrow's penultimate day. Meanwhile, it'll be all systems go on Friday for round 5 of the Tasmanian Netball League.
Coming off a 3-week break, the court is set for some fiery play on Friday night as Crips battle it out with Corona.
We've had some really strong trainings over the Easter break, and some of our girls have gone away to Canberra for nationals, so we're definitely ready to get back into it.
And it's been no different for Corona, both sides taking advantage of the extra training.
I definitely think if we bring our A game, we've got a good chance. The intensity is quite high. We've only lost so far against Arrows, so we're pretty confident, but we're going to have to maintain our intensity and our game plans to get us the wins we need.
In other games, Burnie will take on Devonport and Arrows go head-to-head with OHA. To basketball, and the Hobart Chargers women's team haven't ruled out looking for another import for the season.
Yeah, we're always looking. I think I'm satisfied with the group that we've got in terms of our locals. Our locals have really done a great job in stepping up and filling the holes that we have.
The team will head interstate this weekend to play Kilsyth and Albury-Wodonga. Meanwhile, 5-time Targa Tasmania champion Jason White is set about trying to put further daylight between him and his nearest rival on day 4. However, Matt Close showed his fighting qualities, reducing the overall margin to 55 seconds. In GT4, Angus Kennard in his Nissan GTR had a consistent day and remains in the lead by over 3 minutes. John Siddons continues to perform brilliantly in his 1970 Datsun, opening up a lead of over 6 minutes from his nearest rival in Classic GT, while Peter Ulrich continues to lead in Classic. Tomorrow's action features 6 stages beginning in Strawn and arriving in Hobart tomorrow night. Jessica Moran, Southern Cross News.
Good evening. Hobart and Burnie 14 today, Launceston and Devonport 15. King Island and Smithton also on our top of 15 degrees after Tunnock dropped to -4. Flinders Island, Friendly Beaches, Low Head, Wynyard and Campania all 14 today. Grove, Bushy Park and Strawn got to 13 degrees. Lyawini -3 overnight to a high of 6. A frontal system is to our southwest as a high over the Bight pushes cloud onshore to South Australia and Victoria. Further east there's a low producing more low cloud. Troughs over and to the north of Western Australia has cloud there, and the tropics fairly active as well. Most of the state found some cloud today as it progressed from the west across the state. Tomorrow a high dominates most of the country. A cold front crosses the Southern Ocean. A low and cold front now moving off out of the picture to the east. Winds west to northwesterly at 15 to 25 knots, although lighter and more variable over the upper east. An increase to 20 to 30 knots is expected during the day. Strong wind warning current between Tasman Island and St Helens Point. Lots of the coastline covered by that. Forecast for tomorrow, partly cloudy for Hobart, warming up to 18, which is a little bit better than today. 17 for Huonville, a possible late shower. 19 the top for Campania. Launceston, partly cloudy and 19. 18 for Devonport and Georgetown. For Burnie, a possible late shower, 18 degrees. 16 the top for Strawn, 17 for Wynyard. And for the east, mostly sunny. St Helens and Swansea 20, a top of 19 for Port Arthur, maybe a late shower moving through. Saturday, showers over the west, far south and Bass Strait, clearing during the afternoon. Light showers over the west and north on Sunday, partly cloudy conditions elsewhere and showers spreading across the state on Monday. Sunny and 27 in Perth and Sydney. Possible showers for Adelaide and Melbourne, partly cloudy weather forecast for Brisbane. Cloudy in Hobart 12, 10 degrees in Launceston now and 12 degrees in Devonport. Running out of time, Joe, can't talk about that funny thing about you.
Funny what? I can't think of anything funny about me. Thanks so much for your company tonight. See you a bit later with updates.